All right, listen closely because this is an urgent Code Ninja security advisory. If your organization operates in manufacturing, aerospace, automotive, or defense, your perimeter is actively under siege right now. We are dealing with a massive zero-day disaster here, CVE 2026-125690. Threat actors are aggressively targeting and stealing highly sensitive engineering intellectual property as we speak. So today's explainer serves as a coordinated vulnerability disclosure. My goal as a security researcher here is straightforward. I need you to understand exactly what's threatening your product lifecycle management systems, and I want to force you to lock down your perimeter before years of R&D just walk out the back door. Let's look at the metrics of this threat. 9.3. That's the critical CVSS 4.0 severity score assigned to this vulnerability. Look, if you defend networks for a living, a 9.3 isn't just a blinking yellow light, it's a blaring red alert siren. What that number actually means is a devastating, unauthenticated remote code execution, or RCE, flaw. Let me break down why that's so catastrophic. Unauthenticated means the attacker doesn't need to steal passwords, they don't need to trick anyone with a phishing email, and there is absolutely zero user interaction required. If your vulnerable server is just reachable over the network, boom, they can execute arbitrary code with the highest possible application privileges. And listen, this is not some theoretical research lab scenario. We have confirmed active exploitation out in the wild. Both CISA and the vendor, PTC, have corroborated that threat actors are actively exploiting this exact vulnerability right now. But here's the truly alarming part. Web shells have been deployed. These attackers aren't just popping your server and moving on. No, they are dropping web shells to establish stealthy, persistent backdoor access right into your PLM data environments. They're literally setting up shop inside the very servers that hold your proprietary blueprints and supply chain data. To show you just how fast this perimeter is burning down, let's track this highly compressed timeline. On June 18th, the vulnerability hits the National Vulnerability Database. Just 7 days later, June 25th, CISA adds it to their known exploited vulnerabilities catalog. By the very next day, June 26th, we get solid confirmation that web shells are actively being dropped. And then, we hit the June 28th CISA patch deadline. Under Binding Operational Directive 26-04, federal agencies were given a microscopic 3-day window to fix this. Well, that deadline is gone. The window for preventative patching has officially closed. If you're just hearing about this today, you have to operate under the assumption that you are already breached. Okay, we're going to execute a quick tactical pause here. Just a brief communication link setup before we really get into the technical weeds of how this exploit works and how you can hunt for it on your network. Good operational security requires real-time intelligence, right? So, step 1, subscribe to CyberTech79. Step 2, enable your notifications. I want you to treat this as a strict security requirement so you don't miss vital, real-time threat intel, like what we're covering today. And finally, step 3, hit that like button. Consider that your formal ACK, your acknowledgement of receipt for this critical intelligence payload. All right, link established, let's move on. Protocol, the deep dive. We're pivoting from the macroscopic threat landscape straight into the core technical breakdown. We need to clearly define the exact blast radius and analyze the root cause so you know exactly what your adversaries are doing. So the root cause of this whole disaster is CVE-502, Deserialization of Untrusted Data. In plain English, PTC Windchill and FlexPLM servers accept these serialized objects from network clients. Think of a serialized object as packaged data that's meant to be unpacked or deserialized by the application later. Well, the fatal flaw here is that the application reconstructs these objects without strict allow listing or really any sufficient validation. It blindly trusts the incoming data stream. So an attacker just crafts a payload containing malicious gadget chains, which are basically pieces of code already available in the application's class path. When the server deserializes that malicious object, it triggers those chains, and suddenly they're executing arbitrary commands under the PLM application server account privileges. So who exactly is caught in the blast radius here? Well, if you're running PTC Windchill PDM link prior to version 11.0 M30, you're hit. The exact same goes for PTC FlexPLM prior to 11.0 M30. Oh, and all versions, literally all of them, of the Creo Parametric Server, or CPS, are vulnerable too. And please, keep in mind what's at stake here. We're not talking about a basic front-end web server. These systems house years, maybe decades of your R&D investment, critical CAD collaboration files, bills of materials, irreplaceable proprietary engineering records. Let's actually break down how beautifully simple and utterly devastating this attack vector is. It's just 3 beats. Step 1, the attacker sends crafted, serialized data right to your exposed endpoint. Step 2, the server dutifully deserializes that payload without checking any strict allow list. Step 3, the attacker-controlled logic automatically executes. I really want to emphasize this point. This entire chain happens with zero authentication. None. They don't need to spoof a session, they don't crack a hash, they send the object, it reconstructs, and they own your server. Like I said earlier, because that CISA deadline has blown past us, purely preventative measures just don't cut it anymore. Protocol, incident response, and indicators of compromise. We need to pivot to active threat hunting right now. If you're on an incident response team, take notes on these actionable hunting mandates. First up, query your edge devices and SIEMs for known malicious IPs that are originating traffic. You're looking for 216.152.2.148, 104.243.35.131, and 45.76.146.54. Second thing, look for process lineage anomalies. The PLM Java process should absolutely never be spawning unexpected child processes like cmd.exe, PowerShell.exe, or /bin/h. If you see that, you've got a shell on your hands. Third, monitor for any outbound network connections going from your PLM servers out to unknown external hosts. And finally, drop down to the network layer. Inspect your HTTP request bodies aimed at Windchill and FlexPLM endpoints. You are looking for the hex values AC, ED0005. Those are the Java serialization magic bytes. If you see those, a payload is being delivered. Look, if you spot any of those indicators, you pull the cord immediately. But honestly, whether you find them or not, you have to rapidly implement the required mitigation mandates. Let's move to our final technical protocol, the patch and mitigation. Consider these your direct orders for locking down the environment. First, you apply the fixes detailed in PTC support article CS473270 immediately. I mean it, do not wait for a weekend maintenance window. Get it done now. Next, drastically restrict your network access. Windchill and FlexPLM should only be reachable via a VPN backed by strict multi-factor authentication. Third, because this is an unauthenticated RCE, you've got to operate as if your secrets are already compromised. Rotate all your service account credentials, your API tokens, and your signing keys stored on those servers. And lastly, enforce deep network segmentation. Your PLM systems need to be entirely walled off from the general corporate network to prevent lateral movement. As a white hat researcher, it's my duty to ensure these facts are brought to light so defenders can actually take action. Users need to know to protect their systems. The window for preventative patching has closed. We are in active incident response. The reason we practice coordinated vulnerability disclosure is because sunlight is the best disinfectant. We highlight these critical flaws not to cause panic, but to force vendor fixes, to mandate action, and ultimately to protect the integrity of the global engineering supply chain. Immediate action on your part is an absolute necessity here. So you have your intel, you have your IOCs, and you have your patching mandates. The perimeter is squarely in your hands now. But I'll leave you with this. If attackers have already bypassed your edge, how long will it actually take your team to find their web shells? Audit your logs, restrict your access, and lock down your IP. Stay secure.